Participating with Roleplaying Bulb Radio, this RPPR episode 181, now 5e compatible. Or not. It's not. It's a joke. We're not. I mean, we're not doing the 5e compatible stuff. This episode is going to be talking.
Please no.
Yeah, we're just going to have a little fun talking about the latest trend, fad in tabletop Kickstarters / games, which is to make them take a license setting and slap some 5e on it and call it done. The most egregious example of this, I think, is Hellboy, which should not be a 5e compatible RPG. But yeah, we'll get into that more. We do have a guest today, Max from Good Brews, Bad Views. Please say hi.
Hey, Ross. Thanks for having me on.
Mm-hmm. And so let's get straight into the news. And Max, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's brewing down at your podcast?
Excellent pun, Ross. Excellent pun. So Good Brews, Bad Views is a podcast my friends James and Ryan and I have been doing for the last, I guess, 4 years now, in which we watch movies, mostly bad ones, and drink alongside and do like a somewhat inebriated commentary track. You can think of it a little bit like a MST3K or Riff Tracks thing. But instead of just like ragging on movies, which anyone can do and probably much better than we can, we try to find the gems within bad movies about stuff that we really actually enjoy, as well as, poking fun at some of the questionable acting and production and directing choices. So but it's really just finding the diamond in the rough for just these terrible, terrible movies. We recently had Caleb on to watch John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars, the movie that got him to stop making movies for almost a decade. So that was a fun evening.
Yeah.
Always a classic.
Yeah, I'll have a link to that episode in the show notes, so you can take a listen, see if you like it. Keep on listening. Also in other news, Maddie, a friend of RPPR, is now speed running. You may have heard her in some of our more recent one-shots, and she will be in the Red Markets campaign that we're recording now. That'll be up at some point, run by Jason, not by me. But yeah, Maddie is streaming Hades on Twitch, speedrunning, learning how to do it. So go watch, subscribe, follow, and all that jazz. But also, in other news, Tom and Aaron are all on this episode.
Hi.
Hey.
So yeah, you two regulars.
Wow.
Mooks, friends, buddies. Yep. You're not really.
We do what we can, Ross.
You've done better saves in the past, but I'm still happy to help.
Yeah. This episode idea, we're gonna be talking about licensed games and 5e, but not just that. Also, like taking franchises, taking licenses, and slapping them onto games. What we think would actually be better fits if we weren't constrained by the mere crass demands of capitalism. What would be the perfect game for what would be the perfect game rule set for this particular, whatever franchise or thing you think would be good? This was suggested on the RPPR Facebook group, thanks to a listener, I believe, Patrick Harkin. Thank you, Patrick. If that was you. If it's not you, oops. Sorry.
We'll still give you credit.
Yeah. Oops. So the news is, the thing is, Hellboy had a Kickstarter for a full new RPG, but it was going to be compatible with the 5th edition of the world's most popular role-playing game. Yep. And because 5th Ed D&D is very popular and money is a thing, so
which I'm sorry to say, like, Hellboy is one of my favorite franchises. I love the world itself and all the characters, and I was actually really excited, but up to the point where I was like, hey, cool, I definitely love to play this again, 5th Ed, and well, that took all my enthusiasm away.
Yeah, because supernatural horror and investigation, like, there are a few other role-playing games that actually handle that pretty well, that actually
Oh,
do
really?
that
I
much
was
better.
not aware of this.
Whoa, what did it
Yeah,
have?
no, nothing at all. Monster of the week.
Yeah, Monster of the Week, Delta Green, Unknown Armies, Gumshoe. I think Gumshoe would actually probably be the best. Now that I think about it, but I mean any of those, and a dozen other systems to boot. There have been two other major examples that I can think just off the top of my head, or just doing some cursory Googling around, which is Stargate, which actually is a little better of a fit because Stargate does have the adventuring party going through a dungeon, except it's a planet. And there's sort of niche protection in it. You have your scientist, you have your soldier guy, you have your alien who knows alien things, and you have your person who is, hey, let's talk to them and be reasonable, kind of thing. So, and there was already a third ed D&D equivalent of Stargate. They did one back in the third ed era. Also Middle Earth, which again, well, all right, I guess. Middle Earth is sort of one of the progenitors of D&D, so I guess it's this Polyhedron Ouroboros or something.
Yeah. And I would let you know too, Wyvern Games was also kickstarted a Stargate SG-1 RPG last year, I believe.
I think that's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, is it? Okay, never mind then. So,
yeah, I mean, you might want to look it up, but if there's two, but there is a Stargate 5th Ed compatible thing out there. So
okay, so that might be 5th Ed compatible. So it looked like it's different things. So
yeah.
Well, no, it's separate, but that's fine.
Okay. So there's a lot of stuff out there, but that's the question is like why? I mean, obviously we know why, but like, what if we didn't have to worry about just trying to make as much money for the license as possible? What if you could just make something better, like something to actually fit them? And yeah, so why don't we start with you, Max? If you could choose anything that had any license for particularly for a franchise, but like I guess it could be something else, but what would you pick, and what game would you want to do? And we could do, and if you can come up with more than one game, we'll talk about that. But what's your first pick?
Sure. So I would say my first pick is Hellblazer, or John Constantine, the character from Vertigo Comics, which I would want to run a game with that character or those cast of characters using the Delta Green system. Because if you've ever read any of the Hellblazer comics, you know that being associated or being a friend of John Constantine is a literal death sentence in most instances. So that would be a great use of the bond system within Delta Green. And because John Constantine literally is like sacrificing his friends and loved ones to ultimately stop whatever supernatural force he's dealing with this month. Constantine was great as a monster of the week kind of character with like single one-off issues, but also had some very good overarching storylines, or an ongoing campaign if you wanted to go with that route. So I think like Delta Green would be the perfect system for this kind of character or this kind of game, because even though Constantine is a noted occultist and he can do some kind of magic-y kind of stuff, it's not very flashy, and it's very subdued or subtle.
Ritual based.
Yeah, well, even less than that. It's just like, oh yeah, the synchronicity lets me win at gambling and stuff like that. Like, there's very little like actual like magical incantations or stuff like that. And much like Delta Green, if John Constantine ever gets into a physical confrontation, then something has gone terribly wrong, as like that's one of his defining traits is like he doesn't fight. He has other people fight for him, or he manipulates others into, doing the bad stuff, or, doing the dirty business and such. So.
Yeah, I think Delta Green could work. I mean, honestly, my first reaction is it's almost like an Unknown Army setting. Use that mechanics, but you rework magic, so it's actually like traditional. Like, I mean, Constantine is taking from actual like historical occultism, actual grimoires and stuff like that. And that's sort of the inspiration, is that sort of body of literature. So the postmodern magic of unknown armies doesn't really work. But taking from the real world occultism, I mean, that would be my insult. The thing is, if you use Delta Green, though, you need some sort of rework of the sanity system, because Constantine never goes to 0 sand. He always he just always recovers somehow. So you need some sort of way of resetting or fully healing your sanity. Maybe every time you lose a bond, you actually heal all your sanity. So you just have to get more bonds. Like, he's a yeah.
Or basically modify in some way, because a lot of Constantine's stories actually revolve around how toxic his certain bonds are, and the fact that he has to break them in order to become a better person.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point too. So you really need to really focus on that bond system and really build it up for the Constantine thing, because that's sort of the heart of it, is his fucked up relationships with other people, both how he is toxic and the people around him are toxic. It's just toxicity all the way around. So... yeah, I could see that too. I kind of that would be the perfect game though, also for like a tarot card system.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cause that's sort of like one of my bucket lists as a game designer, is come out with some sort of game system that works with the tarot deck. And I've tried several times. I've never gotten far. I've never been able to figure it beyond the sort of initial vague idea. And then like when it comes to mechanics, I'm like, I don't know. So, yeah. I like that. It's are there any other games? Well, let's open it up. Tom, Aaron, do you have any other, aside from the RPG, do you see any other sort of tabletop games you could do with Constantine?
I know like the base one, would probably the easy one would be thinking Unknown Armies, mainly just because of all the different magic
like a board game
in
or
here.
a card game, like something
Or
other
board
than
game or card game.
I can think like a game like kind of like Magic the Gathering, but your mana you have to sacrifice in its friends and loved ones.
a Magic Gathering reskin, except I tap the cabbie.
Yeah. Except when he's tapped, he does go directly to the graveyard.
Exactly.
Or oh god, what's the potions game that we play, Ross? I can't remember the name of it.
Potion Explosion? Or no? No. Well, is it the one, the bag building one?
Yes.
What is it? It's a really popular one about making potions.
Yeah, we've played it several times. I'm trying to remember it.
Oh, Wax of Quedlinburg.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Max. So that would be a good one, too, where you're just having to go around collecting different regions for a particular ritual that will either summon a demon to help you or hurt you. So who gets to the demon first?
I like that reskin, too.
Get out of hell.
Yep. Cool. I like that. Well, Aaron, what's your top idea? What's the one that you think would be the best? For as a franchise setting, license, whatever you want to call it.
Franchise setting, I actually was thinking more about the Hellboy setting as a whole, because there are so many different elements that actually go into it, because you have like the Abe Sapien side, BPRD as it says, but they actually have a lot of past stuff as well, including Sir Edward Grey Witchfinder, which if you've read the series, he's basically an older investigator in Victorian time, or sorry, Elizabethan times, who met a bad end and continued on the afterlife, but he had a lot of odd adventures. And for that one, because of everything, even though you have ritualistic magic, but you're still pretty powerless to a lot of that, and you're dealing with the politics of the time, I was thinking either Trail of Cthulhu, or if you want to make it a little bit harsher, because you are dealing with eldritch entities or demons that are wheeling and dealing, maybe Night's Black Agents, because you have a little bit of more spycraft involved in that. And also, most of the monsters are incredibly lethal. So unless you have a particular ritual, rite, or trinket, you're screwed. So that's been a big thing of that. And also, it does a lot of good interpersonal drama as well. So that's kind of my idea for that.
I like that. Yeah, I mean that like it also really fits with the synergy of sort of the Gumshoe system, because of that historical basis and like in-depth investigative digging up details and contextualizing them. So and
it reminded me a little bit too, because when we played that one, I believe it may have been just a a Chaosium Call of Cthulhu game, but when we were playing it during the French Revolution.
Yeah, that was 7th Ed Call of Cthulhu. That's an official published scenario. So, yeah.
So that's kind of what it reminded me of too, is just maybe setting it a little bit further back. But like I said, Trail gives more of the investigative bent.
Yeah, that's the thing about like one of the things that annoys me so much about the 5th Ed Hellboy is like Call of Cthulhu is doing pretty well right now. Chaosium is a pretty, like, by tabletop size, pretty big company. Like, they're right there, and like Call of Cthulhu is a much better fit for Hellboy than fucking 5th Ed. So
because I get the idea of like putting in the combat side, but honestly, it's not the only thing though, and that should be like the big explosive ending. And honestly, is to me, D&D combat has always been an involved scenario, and I feel like I get really bored with it really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I saw the announcement for the Hellboy game, there was almost like a universal, like, you know that emoji where it's like the person with like their hand on their chin and a single eyebrow raised? Like, that's how I felt like most fans of Hellboy reacted to it, being like, really? Are you sure? And I think it was right around that time that I saw this post that was pretty much saying that like D&D is almost like a separate kind of hobby from RPGs. Like if you were to group like group them together, like you have to almost like exclude D&D because that's like an entirely different thing from everything else as far as interest and player base and just people's involvement and awareness of it. But that's a different discussion.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There's a lot of people who play D&D and refuse. And like, I mean, this has always been true, but like, especially now with the internet and everything else, you think it would be like, I want to run like a game where we're civilians in World War II, occupied Europe, and we're trying to survive. So I'm modding 5th Ed to do this. Are there any people that have any resources or advice for me? It's like, run another system. No. Never. I've spent 200 hours revising 5th Ed to run this game that's not suited for 5th Ed. Pick another system. No. Like, it's like a drill tweet. Like, Jesus Christ.
And what kind of kills me a little bit about Hellboy too is that it was either late 90s, early 2000s, when GURPS was still pretty big. They actually put out a pretty expansive like leather-bound book for a Hellboy setting that, despite it being, GURPS a little bit older, was pretty neat. And it actually
GURPS is
had
only
a lot
marginally better than D&D for Hellboy.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I completely understand that, but at least it said, hey, we're meant to be a catch-all for everything, which is better than at least the D&D side.
I'm looking at the Hellboy Kickstarter right now, and I mean, it made £360,000 with 6,000 backers. But to be fair, a lot of that is, here's our minis, here's our custom dice, here's our terrain, and look, a little BRPD shoulder bag. And
just buy the board game, guys. It's just as expensive, and you might get some more use out of it.
Well, you don't like expensive shit that's not free, Aaron?
Yeah. Dice bag, huh? Dice tray, huh? You want a dice tray? It's got to be our.
No, well, Ross, we do have EasyRollerDice.com, but do we really need another one?
Well, I mean, these people obviously did.
I would need to have people in my house to play RPGs to need a designated tray to roll dice in.
Well, this was launched pre-COVID, I'm pretty sure. I think. I'm not actually 100% sure, but
yeah, because they were I think it was right before everything went down.
Yeah. So, no, it was actually, what am I talking about? This is fucking September. Jesus, time is a flat circle. Project funded September of this year. So,
oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just seems a lot longer ago. Yeah.
Aeons ago.
Whew. Let's see here. Yeah, so Hellboy. Yeah, Hellboy's got so many other games, and there have been board games and card games. I'm sure there have been card games. I don't really think we really go over that.
No, but
Tom,
video games, yeah.
Yeah, well, Tom, what's your number one pick for a franchise?
I gotta go with I got maybe something a little more lighthearted, at least on surface. The Great British Bakeoff is like one show watched every iteration that's come out.
Yeah. All right. I'm dying. I'm dying to know what RPG you're pairing this with.
And I don't know. I know there's so many options. It's because what I think
Are there?
is, more to say of what I would do with it, not just what system I would use.
Okay. All right.
Because there's the competition itself, but I'm more kind of thinking you could also do a bunch of like weird stuff that from the off camera stuff. So
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Russ.
No. I'm just dying to know what you're picking, like what RPG you're putting this with.
I think you might think this is weird, but what was the game that uses Jenga?
Dread.
Yeah, I was thinking Dread because it's like with each thing, with each baking challenge, just to be like, okay, like, what do you want to do to make it good? Like, okay, we'll pull one out to see how that works out.
Okay.
Because the last thing you want to do is, have your baked Alaska collapse or God help you, soggy bottom.
Oh, no. Not a soggy bottom.
Paul Hollywood does not like.
You know what? I can kind of see, like, maybe not an RPG, but like a board game or something like that.
Or a card game, too.
Well, no, like a physical dexterity game. So we build on Jenga, but like we make a custom Jenga set that's like cake shaped. And so like the Great British Bakeoff cake building game where you're building up a cake layer by layer. And so the idea...
And different ingredients have different like shapes.
And maybe there's like a deck of cards you draw from to pick different size toppings. So you have to stack it in a particular way and it's randomized. And
if there's a presentation element to it, because I remember there was another game that you and Caleb played about creating islands and you had to make certain shapes fit to each other.
Yeah.
So you have a card that basically says, here's what you need to basically have in this particular shape, or else it doesn't give you a certain amount of points, or it could be like an extra point that you're getting if you can get it into this configuration.
Yeah. It's a bold choice. I like it. I'm of course very surprised. I thought the obvious pick here was Phoenix Command. Phoenix Command system can run anything.
It's like all right. It's like all right. At what angle and how fast are you pouring the enriched flour?
Exactly. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. You get it. See, you get it.
I do.
Ingredient distribution is very, very important.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, your consistency is just going to be shot.
Yeah.
And that's going to cost you some points.
Yeah, there's a formula to figure out your cake hit points, and then you cross-reference that with the size of the pan, and then the is your oven cooking? Is it heating evenly? Like it's
and also how long is the cooking time? Because often they don't tell you how long it needs to cook.
Yeah.
Or mixture ratios between separated and unseparated eggs.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't want scrambled eggs. You want something nice and smooth. So what is the angle at which you will apply the whisk to the bowl?
Don't get me started on the double yolk calculation.
Oh, that's if you make a bad luck roll to start by one of your eggs being a double yolk. That's some shit.
God help you if you're cooking this on an electric range.
Don't even say such a thing, Aaron.
Yeah, Max, do you have any other Great British Bakeoff game ideas?
I think any sort of push your luck kind of game.
Clash
of Cutlenberg, I think would be very, very good on this because you're drawing your ingredients, you're putting them into your giant mixing bowl, and it's like, oh, can I do it? And you're trying to get the best baked good possible, but it ultimately can just be an utter failure.
Yeah, I think,
you have to take into account the outside temperature because that thing's held in a tent.
Yeah. I think, a Great British Bakeoff lends itself to a lot of board game ideas, not necessarily RPGs.
Or CCGs or board games.
Well, I think also maybe another board game type would be like a worker placement thing. So it's like Lords of Waterdeep, but it's like, you have so many slots at the kitchen, and you have to place your chef at different stations and sort of figure out the best route to maximize your cake cooking efficiency.
And also each of the bakers has their own strengths and weaknesses too.
Oh yeah.
So when you take their character card, which is yours, you might have the engineer guy who's really good at technical assembly but may not be the best artist.
Yeah, no. I like that. For my first pick, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna big. I'm just gonna say this one is going to be compatible with 5th Ed D&D. It's very much designed from the ground up, and I think you're all gonna agree with me. The Olympus Has Fallen franchise. Which we have Olympus Fallen, London Has Fallen, Angel Has Fallen. So in the grip,
fourth one coming out eventually.
Of course, but as well it should. We just need a never-ending series of movies about the president
Franchise fallen.
About the president being threatened, and only Gerard Butler's sheer determinedness at being the best damn Secret Service agent he can be can save him from garbage truck fucking machine gun turrets to swarms of drones. So it's basically yeah.
Oh, by the way, Ross, just say there's actually a possible title for the next one.
Yeah.
Night Has Fallen.
Well, all right. So
don't forget his willingness to torture.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That just goes without saying. He's an American action hero. So in The World Has Fallen, the president is under perpetual threat. And so it's a D&D scenario it's like rescuing the princess every adventure, except it's the president. So every single adventure, you're rescuing the president from a global a terrorist attack. And so there's every character is a Secret Service agent. There's just different types of Secret Service agents. So, instead of wizards, you have hacker, info, tech agents. Fighters are obvious. Tanks are obviously the Gerard Butler class. Or maybe paladins, something like that. And you just run through dungeons, and by dungeons I mean buildings in Washington D.C. or wherever it's set, and they're just full of terrorists to kill, and drones, and machine guns set up inside garbage trucks. And I cannot get over that scene in Olympus Has Fallen, where the Secret Service agents run out as though they are the Light Brigade to die to a machine gun turret set up cunningly in a garbage truck. It's like a parody of an action movie, but it's
for healing prayers, instead of doing a prayer to your god, you have to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh,
like that one character did at the end of
I like
phone.
Or make a violent threat to the bad guys while swearing.
We see, instead of magic items, you have to do things to bad guys, and then you get a bonus that lasts for a certain amount of time, and that sort of takes the equivalent mechanical role of magic items. So like capturing and torturing a bad guy, you get a +2 attack to all other bad guys of the same faction.
I think threats need to be in there too.
Threats can restore hit points. Like every character class, they do something. Like every time the hacker says "I'm in," he gets extra like D4 hit points back.
Yeah. You should get bonuses. You should get bonuses for one-liners.
Mm-hmm. Then of course the World Has Fallen. Also card game Mafia variant. Someone's a traitor. You got to find out who's the traitor, because every single of those movies has it's one or many parts of the own U.S. government are traitors.
And granted, you always know which one it is.
Well, eventually, but Gerard.
Most of them are like, okay, yeah, that one shifty guy over there, he's totally not going to be
right. Well, I'm talking about the card game variant.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you live up to Gerard Butler's ability to suss out sus agents?
I think that could actually align itself also with a board game with the traitor mechanic, kind of like Betrayal on House on the Hill. That eventually you're building up to the goal of we got to stop these terrorists, but one of you, it's a random scenario. Mm-hmm. Are you a terrorist bent on collapsing the global economy and killing the president too?
Mm-hmm. But for the RPG, you do need the option for players to grind up levels. Just there's just a bunch of terror. There's a rogue drone swarm over there. Go shoot it. You can level up. There's just random threats nearby. So just to give them a little extra. I think that is what 5th Ed players want, and that's what they'll get, and they'll like it. Just eternally saving Morgan Freeman from ever increasing, like, oh yeah, there's obviously a template system or something to level up bad guys. First, they're just terrorists, but then they're traitor terrorists who are secretly former Secret Service agents, but then they have drones, then they're cyborg and they have prosthetic arms, and then they're Antifa super soldiers or something. I don't know. Yeah, you gotta level up your bad guys. Yeah.
But that kind of terrifies me about the idea of the eternally Morgan Freeman president that just can't die even though he's too injured.
Oh, yeah.
Just sitting there. I've been here for 6 terms. The office will not let me leave.
Yeah, he sits on a golden throne. I mean, resolute desk.
Wait, is he the first iteration of the God Emperor of Mankind?
Basically, we have to feed him.
He did play. He did play God in Bruce Almighty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to feed him 1,000 lobbyists a day or he'll die.
All right, Ross.
Your soul sustained me.
I'm sending you a distant pat for that joke. That was good.
Yeah. So Max, what would your second choice for a franchise to turn into an RPG and other tabletop games?
So I'm going to go with quite possibly one of my favorite franchises, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Twin Peaks.
Nice.
And I'm going to go with Fiasco as the RPG. Because if you watch Twin Peaks, the at least the first 2 seasons are a lot of characters that are interconnected in very, very weird ways, either by an item or a location or some other weird connection like that. And initially, when the mystery of who killed Laura Palmer is being discovered, there's all of these very, very just quirky and investigative scenes that are very much like a soap opera, but also have a underlying darkness to it, as David Lynch intended. So, and I think Fiasco is the perfect system for that, as when you're picking your roles and determining your connections between people, it's often between one of those locations or weird items and such like that. Like, for example, in one of the early episodes of Twin Peaks, there is a bird who was a witness, quote unquote, to a crime, and it's like a parakeet or a parrot or something like that. So they're waiting for like the parakeet to like repeat what it heard or whatever. And at one point, someone goes and assassinates the bird while it's at the vet because they don't want the bird to reveal what happened. And it's like, yeah, that is something I definitely could see happening in a game of Fiasco.
Yeah, that's very on brand for Fiasco. The Fiasco, boy, that is a really good fit. So what other games can we do with that? Obviously a tactical miniatures-based skirmish game where you're fighting for control of Twin Peaks. There's the Twin Peaks. You have to control both of them. And so I know a lot about this setting. So I feel very confident that is something that happens a lot, is deadly battles with supernatural powers. That FBI guy is basically a wizard, right? Yeah, see? Yeah,
more or less. Tibetan Buddhist, whatever.
Yeah, see? Yeah, so he has to fight off gangs of roving wasteland mutants to keep control of the Twin Peaks. So yeah, like a Mordheim Necromunda type game, but set in Twin Peaks. Yes, and I will not be taking questions on that.
It's probably for the best.
Noted Twin Peaks expert, Ross Payton.
So,
yeah.
Another thing I could think of maybe is take like the skeleton of something like a world building game like The Quiet Year, but just put all sorts of random dice mechanics with weird Lynchian things in there. Like, hey, we have this one incredibly weird club that's like at the top of this hill with the midget talking backwards. So, like, is he going to tell you anything important? Yeah. So, are they going to tell you anything important? No, but it's cool, isn't it? So, yeah.
Fair. Yes. Very good. Very good.
I do think a Mafia or Ultimate Werewolf game would also be appropriate because
who killed Laura Palmer?
Everyone, who killed Laura Palmer, and everyone's got the hidden role or whatnot, and there's a lot of people aren't necessarily what they seem within that series. So I think that would be great as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Aaron, what's your second pick?
I know it kind of stretches the franchise just a little bit because it was just one series, but it did split off into a couple other ones, like the sci-fi series Eureka, which if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of a sci-fi comedy about a guy who is the sheriff of this small town that's basically a collective of super geniuses developing things for DARPA, and as their wont, things are kind of go off. That's like into weird directions like Akashic theory and different that's like planes of dimensions in existence. But it mainly was set as kind of a fun, it's like action comedy, science fiction comedy. And they did a crossover with a couple of their series like Warehouse 13 back before they did the sci-fi approach. But for that game, since it would be more lighthearted and fun, I was really thinking the Atomic Robo Fate setting could be appropriate for that. One, just because of the brainstorming mechanic could be huge in there with all the players either being part of the scientific commune, which I believe was called Global Dynamics, that you could actually begin the setting of like, all right, what weird thing were we all working on today? And how did this go wrong? And how do we work together to create a solution for it? And also because that entire game pretty much relies on back and forth banter to be able to help not only with the character aspects, but with the roles that go into it as well. So part of me thinks that could be a real fun setting to do. That's maybe a little bit less on the full fighting aspect for Atomic Robo, but definitely would hit more of the higher lighthearted comedy side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to think, what would again, I think maybe something with a lot of minis and tactical combat, but I feel like, I mean, obviously I'm just thinking about games that are actually being sold on Kickstarter and are marketable. In terms, maybe a big co-op legacy game where you're going through, you're just shamelessly recreating the entire series. Boy, that would go with any TV series, wouldn't it? Just redo the show in tabletop format, in a mission format with dice rolling.
We don't want to do like the Cortex Firefly thing again.
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
Something like this, I honestly think, kind of dovetailing off of what Max said about Fiasco beforehand, this could be another good one too, where it's just a comedy of errors and things going wrong constantly, because they had several bumbling characters who just constantly screwed something. They actually made a general reference of like, you're the one who pushes the button. Why did you push the fucking button? So that could be a good one to set up.
Yep. So Max, what do you think? What would your number 2 choice for a franchise be?
You mean number 3?
Oh yeah, sorry, 3.
Oh, number 3 is the Venture Brothers. Now this can go one of two ways. The first way it could go would be to run it in Base Raiders, because Base Raiders has superheroes, high tech, and magic, and is an amalgamation of like everything that we know and love.
Yeah.
Andre.
Base Raiders don't got Venture Brothers money, let me tell you that much. Lord wish
the other option,
yeah.
The other option would be to run it in Heroes Unlimited or any other Palladium game.
Yeah, neither is Palladium. Yeah.
Because the sheer just
dysfunction of the rules.
The dysfunction of the rules and how everyone's character class is different. Like you have, Dr. Orpheus, a necromancer, and then like villains like Red Death or Phantom Limb. Then you have Brock Sampson, whose character traits are he has a knife and a car. But they're all on like, they all are the same level or what have you. So,
the only super ability that actually goes there is that he can sense when somebody's in his car.
True. Yes.
Yeah. Although I do like the idea that you're combining a show about failure with a game that is failure.
Yeah.
Or lots of characters who are living in the past, kind of like the game.
Yeah. And kind of like how the Venture Brothers world just keep kept building and building as it went on, that would mean you would need more and more source books or splat books, just like a Palladium game.
The thing I think about though, if I don't know what it's called, the system, what the Free League system is, the system that they use for Alien, the RPG, it's a D6 system, and because they also use it for Tales from the Loop and stuff like that. But the Alien system has this thing called stress, where stress gives you more dice that makes you more likely to succeed. But if you roll too many ones, you critically fail on a roll. And so stress dice are both good and bad. And I feel like that sort of would, that basis could be a really good Venture Brothers thing, because that's certainly sort of the truth of the system. Characters get more panicked and stressed out, and they do better until they fuck up in colossal fashion. So actually, I think the Alien RPG would be a good fit as well, with a bunch of modifications. But yeah, I realized I skipped Tom. I'm sorry, Tom. What was your second pick?
My second, I've been thinking about it for this episode, but I'm reminded of a game we played. I thought Monty Python's Flying Circus, while doing that, the system where we was basically like the create a play game that we did.
The Play's the Thing?
The Thing?
Play's the Thing, yeah. Where it's like you have to make an entire episode of the show, but you have to kind of decide what the sketches are and how they lead into others, or will call back to another one you did before.
Wow, going very meta with this.
Or where you need to put in the animations.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. Wow. Like a theme version of Plays the Thing, just written up for Monty Python. Like, you could even just make it like a little playbook zine size thing and make about one episode. So you just play it once, but it's about like the episode with the parrot sketch in it or whatever. And so everyone has, so every play group has their own experience of doing the parrot sketch. And it's just talking about acting as the Monty Python troupe, role playing as them, doing the parrot sketch. So very
like the idea we could just call that something completely different.
Yeah.
There you go.
But the real answer here is, of course, Warhammer Fantasy. You need those critical hit tables. And unless John Cleese winds up decapitated with multiple severed limbs, it's not really Monty Python now, is it?
No.
So, that would be my answer, and I will not be taking questions on that.
We're taking questions on a lot of things.
Yeah.
With the Warhammer Fantasy Role-Playing's like job system of various things, you could cover pretty much any occupation of a bit character in Monty Python's Flying Circus. So I agree, Ross. That's a fine system for this.
Yeah, it's a British system too, for a British license. I feel like, after Brexit, they're going to need all the help that they can get, so we might as well send a couple pounds their way. Let's see. I think Aaron, and then I'll do the last one. So, Aaron, what's your third and final choice?
For the third choice that I was a bit thinking of, you may go ahead for the years. I just lost it. I'm sorry, you got me off the train with the Monty Python thing. So I'll come back to me. I'll think of that.
So I was initially tempted to say Chronicles of Riddick, but that's literally Warhammer. You don't really need to make any changes. Or actually, there is an existing game called Fated Sons that apparently really replicates the feel of at least Pitch Black, the movie. I've heard good things about Fated Sons. I have not played it myself. But so I'm going to go with Tremors.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course you do. You do, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Tremors is going to be, I'm tempted again to make it fifth head compatible, but I'm not. Instead, I am going to, what would be the best system for this? There's a couple different choices. So I'm thinking one, obviously, Cinnabar, because I feel like that. I don't even think I need to explain that, but
No.
I think you do.
okay. Cinnabar. I think the Tremors Monsters is in the Cinnabar bestiary for one. There.
Fine. I can accept that.
That's it.
I want to see how you're standing out Bert Gummer in this too.
He's probably the guy who armed that raccoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the raccoon's got to have a source.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has to have a source.
It is canon that Bert Gummer has a cannon.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I do
Fair
not put a
enough.
rocket launcher outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm actually going to say, it's going to be a Blades in the Dark hack. So it's, and instead of a crew, it's the town. Everything about Tremors is about like you are a small community of people living in Tremors zone, and yeah,
Perfection.
yeah.
Are you going to go like, so is that we're actually in Prosperity, Nevada?
Well, no, the players get to choose. Like, it could be the Prosperity, but like they get to choose where it is. It's just a small, isolated community, and now you have to deal with Tremors, with the Graboids, and so everyone is a different type of citizen. You know, one person is the town drunk, one person is the merchant, one person is the doctor.
annoying kid.
The kid, those are the sort of playbooks that you have. And so the community has a crisis, a graboid related, and then you have to deal with it. And so, that's actually how it would work. It would, just dealing with not just, and then obviously as you level up the town, the graboids also level up. And start evolving into more dangerous forms. And so the GM...
So the ass blasters and...
Yeah, well, the GM, like, that would be suggested, but, like, there would be advice on how the GM can make their own graboids. Or do, like, crossovers. Maybe predators show up to hunt the graboids.
What?
Yeah. And...
Or what? Or Graboids dream and they're in Freddy Krueger Nightmare World?
All right, yeah. Why not? Hell, there's
Piled
summer
on.
camp. Jason's there. The one thing the graboids won't eat, because it's Jason.
No, they eat him and he cuts his way out.
Exactly. So the thing about graboids is they learn. So the first graboid dies that way, but the others avoid him now. So you got to deal with Jason and the graboids. So yeah, that's it. And then there's Hellraiser, and then it gets really fucking weird. Because Kink gets like dirty. It's like, yeah, you feel need a shower afterwards. So yeah, that I feel like that could actually be pretty fun. Like, yeah, just like weird ass little community. You just rules to set it like maybe it's a space colony somewhere, and it's just like, kind of a Firefly-esque setting, but graboids. Or in the past, or somewhere else. Just isolated community dealing with these motherfucking...
The franchise did go into the past, so it's really any time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I feel like that would actually be a pretty playable game. That's actually the first real suggestion I've had. It's like, oh yeah, that actually kind of works.
Graboids on the Orient Express.
Yeah. My other suggestion is, of course, Lancer. You're instead of it's just Bert. I mean, that would replicate Bert's arsenal pretty well.
But a giant graboid fighting mechs.
Mm-hmm. Well, not even mechs. It's just like bulldozers and shit like that. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that's my final suggestion. Aaron, what about yours? Did you?
Yeah, I did remember thankfully what I was going to do. So first off, the comedy option of this to me right now is just Sequest in Deep Sea or Deep Blue. Sorry.
Blue Planet.
Blue Planet. Thank you. I'm thinking of that tonight. Blue Planet. So I'll obviously not be taking any questions on that. So
well, I mean,
that's obvious.
Yeah, that's a pretty.
I think Jeff would be okay with that.
Hand and glove kind of fit. Yeah, I think Jeff
exactly.
Would be pretty good.
Now the other idea kind of links in a little bit with Max's for Constantine, but doing the Sandman, but specifically where I could think the idea would be either playing it within it's like either the drama system or Hills. So for that, because you're just constantly you're basically wrapped up in these weird entity mini dramas that are controlled by entities outside of your understanding, or more appropriately, thinking about doing that within I cannot remember names of any system tonight. I'm so sorry. This is gonna get it, but so unknown armies. Excuse me. So
back to unknown
because
armies.
so because you're dealing with aspects of it's like aspects of magical reality that take in different it's like kind of rituals that you can only barely understand and link together in certain ways, and I think that fits the entire aesthetic of the whole Sandman run too, especially since all the stories were just vignettes of different things that happened to Dreamer around him. So if you're playing one of the characters within there, I think that would work out very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with Unknown Armies being the perfect fit just because of all of the sheer variety of ways that the dreaming or other supernatural forces are intruding onto the real world.
Exactly, yeah.
And Dream just kind of being like, well, this is going on now.
Yeah, so or taking elements of like maybe the first adventures where Dr. Destiny has his ruby and then just having to deal with the invading of how that's being abused until Dream comes back and says, my property, what the hell are you doing with that?
You have tortured this diner for long enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, in that kind of setting, you're not... I mean, I don't know if Unknown Armies would handle playing a cosmic being like that very well, but if you're playing in that setting, like being mortals or minor supernatural beings.
Exactly, too. So basically, I can't... like, the only thing I could really think is like if you're doing drama system for playing things like the Endless or something like that. But honestly, Unknown Armies, I think you should be right in the middle of it being in between.
There is a RPG called Nobilis, which is supposed to be good for handling cosmic level beings like that, like Dream very well. So yeah.
In a lot of the Sandman story arcs, there's a handful of just regular human people who get, caught up within the supernatural events of some kind. And then eventually Dream shows up like near the ending, or when he's like, okay, fine, I'll take care of this. So that could be for Unknown Armies, like the characters spending a major charge. So they have to go throughout the scenario or such, like either making sure the event like hits his radar or doing something to make sure that he shows up. And because playing as like a all-powerful being does not sound like a lot of fun, at least to me. But playing as regular schmoes in such a situation sounds like a much more enjoyable experience.
Well, it's a matter of scale and like understanding, like if they're facing like again, there are systems that handle that kind of thing very well. I haven't really played them, but like Nobilis is designed from the ground up to be that kind of level. It's actually sort of meant to like sort of perfectly replicate that fight Dream has in Hell.
To get his helm back too with the riddling.
There are systems that handle that mechanically well. It's just they're like not very common. They're not very well known. It's sort of a more rarefied game experience. So at some point I should try and play that, but like again, we've got to back.
That sounds cool. And to me, playing those those entities, like if you're the all powerful cosmic deities, I think the appeal of it is less the power and more just the general storytelling around it. So what can you get out of the weirdness that is just produced versus just are you smashing through a city or destroying worlds?
Yeah, a lot of could be very interesting. So hopefully this gave you some ideas for your own home game. Obviously we're not going to be launching any of these Kickstarters anytime soon, except the Cinnabar one. I'm in talks with Raven McCracken.
I told you not to give him your address. God damn it, Rock.
No, Aaron. He gave him your address.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, his home burned down again, according to his Facebook. So
did it?
So he'll be showing up sooner or later.
No.
It's okay. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
That's very Ross. That's very brave of you.
He's a Jedi. You're fine. But when we get back, we'll have some shout out. Probably some vaporwave. Some music of some kind. It's going to be on there. I hope you all like it.
Your enthusiasm gives me strength.
I assume there's going to be some nice beats between these segments.
Yes.
There's going to be tunes on the 8s.
Yes, local on the 8s. Tunes on the 8s. Shout-outs. Max, why don't you go first as the guest?
Okay, so I'm going to first talk about a video game I've been playing. So on the recommendation of Noah/Broa, I've been playing Yakuza 0, which is, I guess, a prequel to the Yakuza series. It is about a group of young Yakuza members growing up in the 80s in Japan. So, with a very serious story of real estate fraud and such like that, as well as murder, as well as running nightclubs and having slot car races against children. A very enjoyable game all over.
Nice. Yeah, that's on Game Pass. At least I think it still is. I've been meaning to try it out, but I've been playing other games. It does. Yeah, I played some of the PS2. I played the PS2 Yakuza. Had a lot of fun. And then my friend borrowed my PS2, and then he deleted my save. And I've never forgiven him. Chris. Yeah. Yeah, my first shot is also a video game, Tacoma. It's from Fulbright Games, I believe. It's another.
I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's a walking simulator. You're just walking around a space station, but it's a very well-designed space station that looks like it could actually exist in the future in terms of like, they use rotations to generate gravity, and there's different modules, and cool, here's the augmented reality interface, and here's how this works, and it's like, neat. And so you're just like, basically you're going to a space station that's been abandoned, and you download this interface that allows you to pull up the system logs of things that have already happened on the station. So you're just like watching these past events of the crew talking about things and reading their emails to sort of figure out what's happening. And there's a few puzzles in it. They're very easy. And it's also, the game's only like 2 hours long. It's very quick, but it's quite the enjoyable sci-fi experience. If you're a fan of Eclipse Phase and that kind of thing, it'll definitely give you some ideas. So it was free on Epic Game Store a while ago, which is how I got it, but it can't be too expensive now. It came out a couple years ago. But yeah, I mean, if you want a brief but really neat video game in the walking simulator genre, Tacoma is hard to beat.
It's from the same studio that did Gone Home a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So it's got that same kind of mystery, spookiness atmosphere to it, but has a very strong narrative component in figuring out the stories of these people's lives that were on this space station.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my only complaint is that it was too short. I wish there was more of it. I quite enjoyed what I did see, what I did play through. Very chill, very fun. Aaron, what's your first shout out?
First shout out is also a video game, a newer one that I've played called Fuser, which was Maddie gave me as a early Christmas birthday forever present for this year. So it's made by Harmonix, which is the company that made Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and I've always been in love with rhythm-based games. But this one specifically is about more DJing and mixing, and basically the idea of it as you go through your career is that you're taking different samples and constantly just flipping them in and out on mixes, slowing them down, rearranging as needed, and I absolutely adore it because rhythm games have always been a fun thing for me. Music-based, it's like music mixing like this has been tons of fun to be able to do, especially in group with Ross, Baz, and Maddie. So we're doing live shows, which have been a ton of fun. And yeah, it's definitely raillery fodder for me at some point in the future, but honestly, it's such a relaxing thing to be able to do, and just for generally being creatively stimulating. So I highly would recommend it. It's a bit pricey right now, but like I said, hopefully if you decide to take a look at it, the winter sales will basically go in there. But hey, if nothing else to say about it, you can mix in Rick rolls into it constantly. I think that's what you need to be able to do.
Yeah, they do have a good selection of meme songs. On there, so
you have to pay for Evanescence, but some sacrifices need to be made.
Yeah. So Tom.
My first is also a game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually a big fan of simulation games.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been playing one called Gunsmith, which is not to be confused with Gunsmith Simulator, which is coming out next year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of like it's like a game like Factorio where you set up assembly lines to manufacture military equipment to sell as a arms manufacturing company.
Yeah. So
And of course, you have to choose who you want to sell to. Do you want to be a legit, or do you want to like I'll sell to anyone that has money.
well, that's capitalism.
That is definitely capitalism.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's when I first tried it. It was one of those games where like, okay, then I need a new game. I'll try this for a while, and then I realized 6 hours have gone by.
Yeah, that's a sign of a good game. Is it fully out or is it just early access?
Well, it's been in early access since 2018, but it's definitely improved a lot since then.
Yeah, the early access system is kind of broken.
Well, because it can stay there forever.
Yep. Because why not? So I guess it's released when we run out of money. We can't afford to update it anymore.
Far West.
Yeah, basic. Well, that's a whole different situation.
That's a scam.
It's never been released. Like it's never even gotten to early access. Actually, some chapters have been released, but that's one dude who made $50,000 10 years ago. Like that's a little different than like Star Citizen or something. So let's see. Max, do you have any other shout outs?
Yeah, I'm going to quickly mention two movies that I recently actually bought physical copies of that I think everyone should at least watch. Yeah, I've gotten back into buying physical media this year. Just, I don't know, because stuff's on streaming and then it disappears. So there's stuff I always want to watch and it's easy to lend to people.
Yeah.
So first off is Ghost Dog: The Way of the Samurai, which I'm sure has been mentioned on here before. Yeah, it just got a Criterion release. Ghost Dog is the story of a African-American hitman who lives under the credence of a samurai, which is very, very interesting. It's a great movie, directed by Jim Jarmusch, soundtrack by the RZA, starring Forrest Whitaker. Just an absolute delight from top to bottom. It was the first movie I'd bought in a long time that I had not previously seen, but I just kind of heard about its reputation. So I'm definitely glad that I now own a copy of it.
Yeah. And
next, we have Moonstruck, a 1980s American romantic comedy film starring Cher and Nicolas Cage. I'm not a big romantic comedy fan, but I do legitimately enjoy this movie. Cher is great. She actually fought for Nick Cage to be in this movie. Like as the male lead, they wanted to cast someone else, but Cher being Cher in the 80s, she could get her way. It won a number of Academy Awards.
Yeah.
It's got a great soundtrack with a lot of opera pieces and such like that. It's just a very feel-goody movie, and I suggest everyone give it a watch, even if you aren't a fan of romantic comedies.
Yeah, it's a movie I've heard good things about. I just haven't gotten around to watching it.
It's been a while since I've seen it, so yeah.
I've also been buying more physical media since I got a cheap 4K TV and a 4K Blu-ray player because it looks pretty. So yeah, I've been picking up stuff from like Shout Factory. I picked up like 3 Carpenter movies in their Halloween sale last month. The Thing,
Nice.
the Steel Book for Big Trouble in Little China, and Mouth of Madness. And yeah, physical media is nice to have, especially like my internet died for an hour today. I was like, oh no, what are we gonna do? I had something. I had choices. Actually, I'll mention a couple of movies for my next shout outs. Ones I did watch on streaming, but one is called, they're both horror movies made in the last 5 or so years. One is Southbound, which is on Shudder right now. And it is a anthology horror movie set in the American Southwest desert. And it's about weird things happening in the desert. And it's, spooky and weird, and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Oh, you like spoopy though.
I do like spoopy. And then the next, so if you like weird horror movies, especially anthology movies, Southbound's fun. It just moves along, and there's the beginning ending have, there's a lot of little links and tie-ins to each other. So then the other one I liked, or the other one I watched, is Abattoir, which is on Amazon Prime, and that is a haunted house movie, but like a woman's a reporter, her sister and her sister's family are all murdered, and then someone buys the house and steals the room that they're murdered in, like rips it out of the walls, and the reporter starts investigating, trying to figure out what the fuck's happening, and finds out a mystery. It's like taking all these murder rooms and building a giant house out of them. Interesting premise, very architectural horror. Unfortunately, it's kind of flawed. It takes way too long to get to the haunted house part, but it was fine. I mean, maybe my standards for horror movies are just too low. I don't know. It's worth watching if you're a horror movie fan. There's some interesting ideas in it, and that's all I need for a movie these days. Let's see. Aaron, any other shout-outs?
Yeah, I have to one in particular. It's going back to games, but an older one, actually. Last month I learned that there has been a team for about a couple of years, actually, doing an enhancement project on the PC port of Silent Hill 2, which I recently learned you can actually get pretty easily because that version of the game is considered abandonware. It was pretty shoddily done when it was put out, and Konami has no plans to re-release it or to do anything, so it's actually under that kind of gray legal umbrella. But they've done an excellent job updating all the graphics to the point where it definitely looks like a game of its era, but it is usable in a 1080p setting with the fog effects that are pretty general. All the voices and the documents have been updated, and have all the things that were extra into the game for the endings have been updated. I recently played through it. And, despite the fact of, again, questionable voice acting in some places, it still holds up incredibly well. So, and I actually found myself, even though I'd played this game multiple times, actually jumping in a couple places when I was running down the fog-laden road. And they've done an excellent job basically making sure the town feel oppressive, even though it's just dead silent in most of the cases. So if you would like to play the game, I would highly recommend finding finding at least the patch file. You can find the link to the actual game wherever you need to. Cool. But no, it is really impressive, and I kind of hope they would do it for Silent Hill 3, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Never say never, Aaron.
Never say never. Cool. Tom, any last shout-outs?
Yeah, mine's actually a book.
Yeah.
That I discovered just because of interviews I saw on YouTube, but it's called Commander in Cheat by Rick Riley, a sports writer. It's a whole book about how Trump cheats at golf and how that kind of explains his entire personality. Because it's just it's an actual line from it that he wrote that he says, Trump cheats at golf like a mob accountant.
Just blatantly.
Oh yeah, and he says he said he played with him, and he's it's he cheats with whether people are watching or not. And he said and he went to the caddy shack of one of Trump's golf courses after playing with him, and he asked the caddies how do you guys don't you know how do you get approve of this? You know that he cheats, and then they're all looking oh he doesn't cheat, and oh wait, you cheat for him, and then all the caddies love yeah, that's how it happens. They say they have pockets full of identical golf balls for him that they can just drop on the course wherever he wants.
Wow,
it's like Smithers in that one episode of The Simpsons.
Or they keep a pocket full of green golf tees, so when he hits a shot in the rough, he can put it on a tee.
Man.
He says this guy, the guy wrote it's played golf with all kinds of celebrities, and they said so many celebrities have claimed that Trump cheats, and also he said that Trump claims he has a handicap of 2.5, which is the lower the better. And he said Jack Nicklaus has a handicap of 3.0.
God, that's some North Korean dictator shit right there.
Oh yeah, no, it's reading it I'm not even that interested in golf, but just really like,
Oh, sure.
Jesus Christ, man, that
Yeah.
there's cheating and then there's this.
It's a sign of good storytelling when the subject doesn't matter. It's just the story is compelling enough. So yeah, that's a good recommendation. So yep, something to think. But yeah, that ends this episode. Thank you all for listening. I am at Ross Payton on Twitter, and of course RPPR is on Facebook. We have a Facebook group where we talk about stuff, and a Facebook page which you can like, and so you can get updates when we put new episodes up and all that junk. And of course, if you're a patron on patreon.com/RPPR, you can join for at least $2 a month or more, and get different rewards, including bonus podcast, early access podcast. Join our Discord where we talk and chat, and I post great, interesting, and very informative links. Certainly not random weird stuff I find on the internet. No, I do all of it. But yeah, we have a great community. We talk about RPGs and all kinds of stuff, and we have a lot of fun. I live stream movies and, weird videos, like we did the movies and Halloween, like Night of the Living Dead and stuff like that. So, yeah, join us to see all that and more. Max, how can people find you on the internet?
All right, so you can find me at MMNestorowicz, that's my personal Twitter, as well as Good Brews, Bad Views at GBBV Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all those fun places. We also have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/goodbrewsbadviews, where you can get access to be able to vote upon one of our monthly episodes, so you can inflict suffering upon me, James, and Ryan.
I've been told voting is important, and you should do it.
Voting is very important. Vote every time you can vote, not just every 4 years.
And vote for Max's podcast. What movies he will do. So that's basically the same thing, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. No, I will not take further follow-up questions. Aaron, how can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Aaron Karsten on Twitter, as well as Raillery Podcast Streaming on Twitch. We are doing our Wednesday nights as usual. Currently, we are streaming Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is the spiritual successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And Maddie is thankfully coming along to act as my sounding board / mocking board when I'm failing at that game so many times, but you can actually support us over there. And we're, like I said, subscribers and followers. So we are there to make an entertaining, fun night. So
cool. And Tom?
Tom, you can find me at Lustrian Snake on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lurking around many different places at many times.
All right, just waiting in the shadows for you. Yeah.
I do what I can, Ross.
Yep.
I do what I can.
You sure do. Thank you all for listening. This has been RPPR episode 1.